Hello and welcome everyone to the Tech Sharmit podcast. Today I'm here with another special guest, Walter Vender Heiden, who is not just a technical wizard but a true leader in the world of embedded softwares and real-time system. He is consistently contributing a lot to IT community through his blogging, seminars and his day-to-day work. In fact, he has inspired countless individuals in the IT community. Not only this, as an IBM champion, he is contributing a lot again to this community and providing various knowledgeful blogs, content that is helping not only the freshers but the professionals as well. So, in this episode, we are going to talk more about his professional journey, how he started blogging, and all these important questions we are going to discuss. But before we start the discussion, I would like to thank Walter for joining us in this episode. And now I request you to please initiate the discussion by telling us something about yourself.
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting me. I'm totally honored that I'm here. It's so nice, and thank you for your patience. I don't know if you always tell stuff about it, but this meeting is a little bit shifted because my plane was delayed. And as you see in the background, I'm on an airport, in Zurich airport, because tomorrow the Swiss 24, the System Engineering Conference in Switzerland is, and I am there joining and speaking with all kinds of people. For those who don't know me, my name is Walter van der Heijden. Your pronunciation was pretty good. And I'm from the Netherlands, as you might hear from my accent. I was born 63 years ago, 1961. Every time I have birthday, I look at it and say, what happened? So, because I don't feel that old. But it is what it is. And born in Rotterdam, in the city of Rotterdam, that most people know. And I went to school there, went to the eastern part of the country, and then went to school, studied electronics, studied informatics. At that time, we speak about 1982. Informatics was not that common to study, so I studied it. I got my degree there in Enschede, the city in the eastern part of the country. It was just a very famous school. And and then I started working, not at first in embedded, that took me a while, but at least in IT and doing programming, learning C, learning Unix. At that time, we did have Linux, it was still called Unix, and all kinds of other systems that are already run, and learning to work with embedded and also microcontrollers. So that's a bit of my history. I'm married since very long time, since almost 30 years. I have two sons, both in IT. I have no idea where that comes from,
Okay.
but they're studying. They're studying. They're almost done, both of them. And we live in the eastern part of the Netherlands with our kids. They're still at home, and with our two dogs, with two small dogs. And yeah, hobbies that we have is of course my work is most of my hobbies, but also just walking around, visiting people, visiting sport games, football. I mean, the football that other people call soccer, but I call it football because it's a foot and a ball,
And what? Yeah.
and not a hand and an oval. So, and watching Formula One, of course, with the reigning world champion in the Netherlands here. So, Max, as you saw in one of my blogs, yeah, I think that's about it about myself.
Okay, thank you so much for your introduction. And now we would love to hear more about your journey, like about your background, like how you got into the IT community and embedded as software as well as the real-time systems.
It's actually, I had a nice journey because when I started, I worked for a company and I saw your blogs and I saw you're pretty well known in the IBM Z, it's called now, but it used to be called AS400 and System 36, System 38. And that was where I started when I started working after school. That company did that. But I was already very cool with PCs and smaller systems. So, and everybody knew, okay, if there's this AS400 or whatever, there's another system, please call Walter because he knows how this works.
Okay.
So I was already doing stuff like that for a lot of banks in the Netherlands. And then, of course, as you always have, companies got taken over by other companies. So I had to look for another job. And then I landed in Germany at Metro. Metro is a wholesale that sells to stores. It's called Macro or Metro. You probably know it. It's very big. It's huge all around the world. and I did cash programming and cash register programming, which is already starting to look a little bit like embedded. And then after that, I met somebody who introduced me to a big bank in the Netherlands, a central bank, and I started working there. But there was a guy working who said, "I work for a company that makes compilers." And
Okay.
okay, that was something I always did in my school. I had a 9, which is an A minus or something like that in American for compilers and for operating systems. I always liked that. So I once was visiting him, and then uh, half an hour later, I signed a contract and worked there. I started working on compilers for a company called Tasking.
Okay.
Yep, sorry. And for a company called Tasking. No. And this company makes compilers in the Netherlands, and I worked there and um, did my compiler, so C167. It's probably a system that is well known, and yeah, I really like that. That's a much nicer world than the bigger IT world. I'll tell you later on what I really like about that. So,
Okay.
and then all of a sudden, this company was also being taken over by another company. They didn't want salespeople, and I was technical sales. So, but I already met Andreas Willert from Winner Software Tools, and we were already speaking German. I speak German. Um, I spoke already German, so so I called him and said, "Hey, what's up? Are we going to do something together?" He was the distributor of Tasking in Germany, and then I started working for in 2001. I started working for Willow Software Tools at that time, which is now Codeus Willow, a bigger company. And I immediately started working with Rhapsody at that
Okay.
time from iLogics. Yep. So yeah, that's a bit of
The
my
journey.
career after that journey. That's
Uh,
There are a lot more details to that, but let's keep it.
Okay. Okay. And like Walter, you are known as a technical wizard with a passion for solving complex problems. So can you share a memorable problem that that you have solved and that stands out in your career? Because I'm pretty much sure that you have solved many of the problems, but is there any particular issue or any glitch that you solved and which is memorable for you?
Uh, you give me this question in preparation, so I started thinking about it. And
Yeah.
I really couldn't find just one single thing that I said, "Wow, this is something really memorable." We did a lot of memorable things, and for all the really similarity between all the things is time pressure, because there's something that needs to be
Yes.
working tomorrow on that time. It needs to be working. Nobody knows anymore. Everybody's shouting. Pizzas are on the table, and so uh, I remember at 4 a.m. in the morning installing an upgrade for the debugger emulator because we couldn't find out why it wasn't working. Installed an update, and then it worked, and we could debug until the sun came up again, and we found the error just in time for 9 o'clock, and people came in
Okay.
and worked uh, the requirements that we had for. I worked on a keyless entry system for Mercedes, or for a distributor, somebody who made that for Mercedes, and it needed to be small. Of course, it's a key. There's a couple of kilobytes generated codes from a UML system, and with a framework that did all that, just diagrams, generated code in there, and it needed to work, and it also needed to be fast. It needed to boot up the framework when somebody took the key, and the key booted up. It needed to boot a complete framework. So hacking all night to make this work and make it happen, and it happened. We even we knew there were other people doing this in C code, in plain C code, and we beat them because we were faster, better. After all, when changes came, and that's one of the things that is legendary, I think. Was when I don't know if you know keyless entry systems. You have a key in your pocket, you go to your car, or there's a key on it, and mine even has a touch ID. So you touch the door, car wakes up, says, "Hey, somebody wants
Okay.
in key," and the key wakes up and says, "Yes, release the key," and then the car says, "Yeah, right. That's what they all say. Prove to me that you are my key." And
Yes.
sends a challenge. He calculates the response, and the car says, "Oh, you are my key," and opens up. Same thing with starting. Now there are people who do not want to pay the sum of money for their cars, and they have different systems. So they have a relay system that uh, uh, transmits and receives the signal on that frequency of the key, and the car, and it radiates and exchanges that information on another frequency. So if you're in a hotel room, you have your key on your nightstand, you're sleeping, and then somebody else
Okay.
stands outside of the door, out of your room, has an antenna there. The other one is with an antenna next to your car, touches your car, and your key starts transmitting, and your car says, "Oh, the key's there," and opens up. So Mercedes found that out, and just before the release of that was the E-Class, the previous E-Class, he said, we can't find a way. Well, we spoke about finding a way, but we couldn't. It was just a small controller. We couldn't do something with timing because it was just too slow. And then we just decided, okay, the key also has buttons. So if you double
Remotes, yeah.
click the button, it blinks 4 times and it switches off the keyless entry part. You have to open it with the key by clicking the button for once. Then next time, it will do it as normal. And we built that in because we had a UML system. We had state machines, we had class diagrams, we had everything nice, and we had deep testing system behind it. So we made a small change and thought, it's good. Started our testing system, went out, drank beer, went back in next morning, and looked at it and said, working. And then took it, went to Mercedes and said, here it is. And then guy at Mercedes looked at us and said, oh my God, I sent you a change. I said, yes, it's in there. No, no, you don't understand. I sent you a change 2 days ago. Said, yes, it's in there. No, no, 2 days ago we sent a
Two
change.
days ago.
Yes, it's in there. Took us a while to convince him. The others who did this in scene worked weeks, day and night to get this done. That's a bit of a legendary. People know. We cannot talk about all the names in there, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
it's a great story.
Okay. Okay. And now let's talk bit about the UML because you have good expertise in the UML in terms of embedded software design. So could you walk us through the importance of using UML in embedded software design and how does it enhance the development process? Because there might be some students who are watching this session, this podcast, and they also wanted to make their career in embedded software design and they also want to learn UML. So just give us some examples.
Awesome when you do that. If you students who are watching, cool, do this. We need you. And UML, I would like to broaden that if you don't mind. I would broaden it
Hmm.
to modeling
Yeah.
because you also have SysML, SysML P2 at the moment. It's an old amount. But
Yeah.
UML software, SysML systems because we make systems. Most of the stuff we make nowadays are systems. And
Mhm.
modeling is key, absolute key to that. All the stuff that we make nowadays is so complex and so complicated. We can no longer have everything in our head. We are working with multiple people. You need to sometimes figure out, okay, what do we already have? Where is it fitting in? When you have a diagram, a picture says more than 1,000 words. I would say that's even underrated. It's more than that. And by generating the code in there, so that the code is always equal form. It's always the same. Somebody else looks in it and understands it. If you have to debug your code, because sometimes you have to, even in low code environments, you have to debug codes. You can look at it and you understand it, and somebody else will understand that code as well, and not because I'm the older. I had this once that I was at somewhere and looked at it, and said, look at this code and said, what idiot made this? Thinking that, scrolling up and seeing my own name there, and happy that I didn't shout it out loud because it's something you write something and you have a sliding optimization inside your brain. You think different, you learn
Yes.
other things and all that, and you program differently. You don't understand your own code anymore, let alone understand somebody else's stuff. And that is what you have with modeling. And modeling, of course, is wider than that. You connect it to your requirements. You connect it to Jira if you have it, to your work item system. You connect it to your test. You can even connect, you generate code, you connect it to your code. When we do this, we have a requirement and you find the text of the requirement in the code where it's implemented and a link to it. You can click on it and you land back in the requirement. So, I mean, that is so powerful. And I don't understand that not everybody uses that not everybody sees that. I understand it a little bit. I know that coders love the code. And it's nice, of course, the feeling of power when you type in something, you compile it, and yes, it works on your small Arduino or on your Raspberry. Yeah, you program something and you do it. It's nice, but it's not no longer up to this time. If you have to make systems like we make, they need to be good, and you need to model them, and not just modeling, but the whole shebang of going from requirements to a model to the code.
Okay. All right. And now my next question is again related to the technology. Like as someone proficient in C and C++, What do you see as the key challenges as well as the opportunities for the developer in these languages today, especially in terms of real life system application? Because we all know that in college days, C and C++ are the very common language. With these language only students start their programming knowledge and learning the programming. So how these things are working in nowadays?
Yeah. It's of course the problem you have with coding is not just the coding itself. Most of the programmers know their code, know their C code, their C++ code, or now in other stuff in AI, it's Python. Even Java is used. I know in a lot of cars, there's a lot of Java used nowadays, and modern languages like Rust are incoming. But it doesn't really matter all that. I mean, coding is coding. If you're a good coder, you're a good coder, and you can code well. But
Mm.
uh, as I said in the previous question, I think modeling is way more important than just the coding part. And if you model, certainly in things like UML and like Rhapsody, you still have to code. You have to code small snippets of code, and the sequence in which this is executed. That's what you do in the modeling, in your state machines, in activity diagrams, and so on. But you still, okay, if you have a port somewhere on your controller, you need to access that port, find out how that works, and to get and make your software in there. That's what you still have to do. And furthermore, you still have to know C and C++ to be a good modeler.
Yeah.
So it's not that you say, I don't learn it anymore. I only want to model. Nope, that's not how it works. You need to figure out how it works. It's the same in earlier days. In my early days, C and C++ were not. C++ was very new, and C was also relatively new.
Okay.
But we still had programmers that wrote down some C and then compiled it once, and then took the assembly code and started hacking in assembly because they could do it fast.
Mhm.
Nowadays, you can forget about that. The optimizers are so good. You can never ever make an assembler program like which is faster or smaller than a C program. You can't. Just you can't. Even C++ is better now in optimizing than C. Those optimization technologies have have gone further. But you still have to figure out. You have to know how this works. You have to understand it. Like in C, you also have to have the understanding how a microcontroller works. You need to know how it works. You need to know step registers and all that. You
Yeah.
cannot say I don't care anymore. Yeah, maybe that's one of the big differences between IT and embedded.
Okay. Okay. And now I would like to talk a bit about your expertise area, because most of the people who know you, they are not only recognizing you as a technical expert, but also as a motivator and a people person. So how do you balance the technical demand of your work with the interpersonal aspects like mentoring and training? Because you are playing a mentorship role also for many of the IT folks. So how you are managing all these things?
Yeah, I, it's just love of the work. It's love of the technology. I love technology. I still
Yeah.
read technology. In the plane, I wrote an article. I read an article, and I write articles as well. I like that. I like working with people. Uh, I just love to do that. I always say, if you love what you do, you never have to work a day in your life. And I never worked a day in my life. Never. This
Okay.
is not work. This is just what I love to do. And helping other people and doing this and be nice. Be nice. It's also a thing. Sometimes people are not nice enough. Just be nice. There's just no reason to not be nice to everybody. Doesn't matter.
Okay. And let's say if we talk about your teaching approach, so what's your approach to teaching and conducting the seminar that makes them so engaging as well as successful? So are there any specific techniques or philosophies you follow before delivering any session in a webinar?
Yeah, it's a bit. I thought about this, and you do it naturally. But one thing that is very important is humor and fun.
Yes.
That's like, what humor and fun? Yes, but it's important. And your brain is optimized to recognize good things and really bad things. If you walk on the beach, and you're walking around, see all the nice ladies or men, and then you walk barefoot and you have your foot on a seashell, which hurts, then your brain wakes up because that's the danger. Your
Yeah.
brain wakes up. You see nothing anymore. You only focus to that. The other way around, suppose you just have a new girlfriend, and this girlfriend drives a very small red car, and all of a sudden if you look around, you see all those red cards because your brain is optimized for that. It sees that
Yeah.
red card, says, "Hey, there could be fun there," and that's something that if you give somebody training, you can speak all the time about what you want to get. No, make it lively and
Yes.
build in some fun, build in exercises that people recognize it and be nice and make them happy. And since 25 years I do this, and there are people sometimes my sales guys come in and say, "Hey, you get greetings from that guy." I really have to think because it's like thousands of people. So I don't know them all anymore. But then mostly I figured with them. They still remember me. So I must do something right. So if it is something that it's that. It's humor. It's humor and fun.
Okay, so now we got your secret, like why your seminars and your meetings are so engaging and successful. So fine. And now, like you have been recognized as an IBM champion for the multiple time. So which is a significant achievement for all of us. So what does this recognition mean to you, and how has it impacted your career?
Oh, um, I didn't know what an IBM champion was until I got an email. If you were recognized as an IBM champion, I looked at it and said, okay, well, I don't know. And it was nice. And then I asked around a little bit, and people say, "Yeah, there's somebody outside of IBM that does a lot of good stuff for IBM." Thank you, but it's very nice. But in Europe, it's not that known. Nobody really knew what it was. And then I come to the United States on the IBM Tech Exchange.
Okay.
Then you walk in, you get a blue sweater with an IBM champion on it. You get
Yeah.
goodies. There's the first place, the first row are separated. That's for IBM champions. You can sit there. Armin comes up, the big boss of IBM. And the first thing he does in his keynote speech is, "Thank you, my IBM champion. Without you guys, nothing could have happened." Whoa! I was flabbergasted. I think that's the only word I know for that. And I'm honored to be an IBM champion, and I do everything to stay an IBM champion. I do a lot of stuff for IBM on my blogs and everything. With
Okay.
and with fun and with all of my heart. I really like IBM. IBM is a good company. It has a bad reputation sometimes, and not rightfully so. I think IBM is one of the best companies that you can have.
Okay. All right. So now, like as I mentioned, there are many students who are also watching this podcast. So is there any piece of advice for those, like how they can start learning about the embedded system, and what initial steps they can learn? Let's say if someone is there who want to make their career in as a uh, in the industry of real-time softwares and embedded systems, so how they can start?
Um, yeah, start is by doing your school, but also
Mhm.
by loving it, by having this interest in it, by having this mentality, run the extra mile to solve the problem. It's embedded technology. It is the most important stuff that we know. Everybody, if I look around you, there are thousands of people around me on this airport, and they they use my stuff, your stuff, everybody's stuff all day, and they have no idea. They
Yes.
have no idea. And but it has to work. As I was, a blue screen is not an option. We don't have that option. Our software needs to decide by itself. Shall I engage the airbag? Yes, no. No, it's not there. It needs to decide itself if it goes out or not. And it has 10 milliseconds to decide if it goes out or not. If it waits 5 milliseconds too long, it doesn't save you, it kills you because your head is there and it breaks your neck. So it is important software and important systems that we make. Be aware of that. And if you're interested in doing this, if you like it, and only do it if you like it. I know it's that's a tough statement, but I know people who went into IT and say, yeah, IT, your business can make a lot
Bus-
of money. Sorry, sorry, that's not the way you go into IT. IT, you do something with your heart and with love of it, and with the convincement of wanting to make stuff work because stuff needs to work. Our stuff works. My cell phone knows where it is by satellites. You cannot fly to a satellite and say, well, I need to hack a little bit here. Nope, it needs to work. With fire up. If it doesn't work, 300 million or 500 million down the drain. It
Yes.
needs to work. I love it. And if you love that too, you will find your way. No worries.
Okay. All right. Okay, and let's talk a bit about your blog. So, how has blogging contributed to your personal brand and your ability to connect with the industry? Because nowadays like everyone is using your blog in order to learn something new and to implement their in their own system. So how has what do you think, like how has it impacted your life as well as the life of those who are using those blogs?
I started with blogging years ago because somebody told me to do that because I always wrote emails to people, but it only lands at one people. And somebody says,
Okay.
you need to blog. And I was already blogging privately. I had a private blog. Just search the internet, you might find it. I'm not going to give any pointers. And that's my personal life. It's where I was on holidays. And I decided to mix that. I mean, uh, I know most of the people who use it. So I thought, you know what? I just do a bit of a personal touch in there and try to learn them at the same time. Because I always write about where I was, as I call myself a traveling modeler, and I am a traveling model, as you can see. Airports are my second home. I live in an airport. So, and I like it. I love that too. So I started blogging about that. And then, of course, in a blog, if people read your blog, you see it. You get emails back from that. And there are literally thousands of people all around the world that read my stuff. So and then and then you're hooked. You cannot give it up. You have your audience. Your audience wants you, so you have to.
Yes,
And
right.
that's it's not a have to. I just like. I love it too much. So just keep on watching. And Yapsi red blog, Autos red blog, and now Harmony on the ego blog. That's built, but we gotta fill it for the
Okay.
end. Yep.
Okay, so like there are many things that we can learn from you and we can discuss, but just because of the limitation of time, I'm going to ask my last question. Uh, as we all know that you are known for inspiring others, right? But who has been your great source of inspiration? Who is your mentor?
And so I'm thinking, I have a couple of people, of course, in my neighborhood, colleagues, and people, also people from IBM.
Okay.
Bruce Powell Douglas wrote the books of, was read all the books. And I know Bruce personally is one of my inspirators. And of course, Andy Lapping, colleague, Martin Stockholm, colleague. They learned me so much about UML and stuff that I started blogging about. And more on a global level, I'm an Apple guy. I do this on my MacBook Air. So I love Steve Jobs, and we all miss Steve Jobs. And Steve Jobs is a great example of how we solve it. Take the simplicity, take all the complexity out, look at the simplicity and solve it there. So I think you can say that Jobs is one of my inspirators.
Source
Yeah,
of inspiration. Okay. All right. So thank you so much, Walter, for taking out time from your busy schedule and for joining us in this episode. I hope you also
it was a
enjoyed this
real pleasure.
discussion.
Yeah,
Thank you
it
once
was a
again.
real pleasure to do that. And thank you for inviting me. And hey, hi to everybody there, and go keep up the good work.
Thank you.